Hey, what's going on? Arvin here, and today we're just going to be doing a little freestyling it with a side view sketch of a sports car. Hey, what is up? Arvin here. Welcome to Driven to Draw, and today we're going to be talking about drawing the side view of this vehicle and what my methodology is in choosing a particular profile when I'm drawing or I'm sketching cars, because you can sketch pretty boxy profiles, you can sketch some aerodynamic profiles, and how do you kind of decide what's the right kind of proportion? So I'm going to start off with my wheelbase, which you've heard me several times talk about this, which is establishing the distance between the front and the rear wheel. And in this case, I've got about 2.5 wheel spacing. And when I start with my profile, I typically, to me, the more pleasing kind of profile usually ends up having some larger wheels and having some broader shoulders here in the rear, and having a very low overhang in the front. So the front overhang is basically that distance between the front part of the car to the distance to the front of your wheel. So that distance, if it's less, it gives it a more aggressive look. So that's kind of what I typically do, and you see this with rear wheel drive cars. If you have things like a front wheel drive car, then depending on where the motor is placed or the engine is placed, you're going to have a little bit more packaging room space here in the front. So you have to extend that front end, so you're not going to have as much of an overhang. For rear wheel drive cars, it's different. So you end up being able to have less overhang in the front. So just to recap here, what I said was a small overhang here in the front, which gives it a little bit more of an aggressive look. And the other thing that I'm doing here is I add a little bit of a pointed front. You're not going to be able to see it here in the side view, but basically what happens is that point is going to be in the center of the hood. That point is going to extend out on that center, and that's kind of what I'm showcasing. And then when you get down to the bottom of the front of the vehicle, you see I have a little bit of a curvature, and I bring that back. So that's going to give a little bit more form and aggression here to this vehicle. I added a little character line. Not that happy with it, and that's something you see all the time. Pretty basic stuff. Now, if you notice, I did I did a little bit of value shading here on the side facing of the car, so you can see from the shading that the form has some curvature on the side, and that's what I'm indicating by shading that entire area. And then when we get to the bottom, there's a slight elevation. There's a change in surface contour at the bottom of the vehicle, which is what you're seeing there in that pointed oval shape. So that surface comes down, you've got a little bit of this elevation, so that surface is going to kick out and then return back, which is why it's going to be shaded a little bit darker at the bottom. There, my side window, I'm just adding a little bit of a reflection line. That is just a reflection of the trees surrounding the vehicle. So what you're seeing here is a sports car, and I've got a little bit of muscularity here at the back of the vehicle. Kind of like the Coke bottle effect that you see on the old Chargers. So I've kind of integrated a little bit of that look here, and then I've added like an integrated spoiler here at the rear. And you also notice that the rear wheel is slightly larger, so a slightly larger diameter. So this is kind of like a muscle car. And then once you do a sketch like this, you can do different variations. You can overlay it and try a different shape. One thing I do like is these hatchbacks. So I used to own a Ford Probe GT. I used to love that hatchback. I tell you, going to college, I used to be able to stuff. It was a 93 Ford Probe GT. I would be able to stuff an incredible amount of things in that car. It was awesome. That car just rocked. I loved it. Okay, so that's just about it. This kind of goes through my methodology and how I think when I'm drawing these side views and trying to give my sports car a little bit of an aggressive look. And we'll see you next time on Driven to Draw. Have a good one.